First World Order Radio. Finally, we are on the air. No doubt. All right.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio.
We get on into some of that order consciousness tonight.
First World Order Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m.
We got to talk about what is taking place on the planet.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio. First, we need to let you know we're going to be doing more shows, giving out more information on Wednesdays. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we are now going to make this the hottest day of the week.
Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the group based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it. Preceding others in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns in existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the group based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it.
You need to understand how magical this, something like this every Wednesday can become. So you need to start getting your calendar right, get your schedule right. You need to know our intention straight out.
All right, so, these clues are given throughout the various languages was to piece the puzzle of this ancient mystery school back together again.
And what we plan on doing, both of us, is bringing y'all some surefire dynamite. We're going to take this level up a notch. We're going to have stuff to do here. This is not just going to be about philosophies and theories, shit that works.
You have an activated pineal gland in which that produced this black chemical called melanin.
What we did was gave a hard line in the sand between the different definitions of esoteric study and exoteric study. Playtime is over.
Yeah, South Shaolin, the classified elements. We here now. To all you Fruit Loop, colored candy, bright peanut butter and jelly, cool ass niggas, you best duck and run for cover. Yo, into the temple gates, cross the fiery lakes, but witness to tortured souls and pledge upon burning stakes. Ascend the cherubims, raising hell to reach heaven gates. Fire bombing cathedrals when I switch my cars to stay. Regard to animal, from animal back to God. I'm throwing these truths like WD Farad to raise a nation that's indispensable, indivisible. Basic principle relate to digital outputs to outlooks. Temperatures rising as the sun of righteousness gets spiritual guidance in the lion's den. The phoenix arises, spitting balls for Mars to the belt of Orion with the eye to Hootie. These faggot devils can't fool me. The phallus gave porn and digesting the pig's booty. Descendants of wickedness, lost in the wilderness. We're never at here to just go ahead and slit your wrist. The black god exists, where devils try to exit, leaving their plan in crisis until destroyed by ISIS. In a pit of demons, I'm ancient Kemet dreaming, converting satanic chords with the beta semen. Sword swinging, decapitator, parable addicted, crystal wand mystic, keep it glowing drinks when I'm lifted. I'm Melchizedek, moving through 50 states. Early transplogist with the gods I relate. Mental alchemist, watch love conquer hate. I emanate golden rays above my head's a figure 8. I'm Melchizedek, moving through 50 states. Early transplogist with the gods I relate. Mental alchemist, watch love conquer hate. I emanate golden rays above my head's a figure 8. In a devil's head, severed on a dinner plate. Before the throne of God, all devils will meet the fate. Below the Mason Dix, arises the future great. Imperial, ethereal, sound the trumpets through the stereo. Murders with mics, that's why I scratch off the cereal. Reverse creation, send you back to some minerals. South Shaolin, double MC is the abbot. More rich be the nation, black man's land, we gotta have it. Restore the throne, eradicate the savage. When disaster strikes, actual facts he can't manage. A fool's on deck, sink ships like Titanic, spreading fear across the land, causing unjustified panic amongst the brain dead zombies. Grab the expensive bandits while these wicked overseers collect residuals in their hammock. Corporate fruits forever remain rancid, poisonous to the mind, inflicting subconscious damage. I'm Melchizedek, moving through 50 states, only transmitters with their gods I relate. Mental alchemists, watch love conquer hate. I am in a golden rays above my head to figure 8. I'm Melchizedek, moving through 50 states, only transmitters with their gods I relate. Mental alchemists, watch love conquer hate. I am in a golden rays above my head to figure 8. Return of the ancient one, the Moorish Naga, the dragon rider, or breathe on fire, generator, operator, destroyer, a self-lord and master, instructor, a Kama Sutra, practicing Tantra, a Kriya Yoga, a Kundalini, the resurrector, Shishuna, the eater, Pingala, awaken the 7 chakra, to come the avatar, Muhammad the conqueror, putting swords to your jugular, sing you to the ether, the water, air, fire bender, the earth ruler, usher in a new era. In the saga, eyes filled with terror, eerie sounds of horror, reflection crack mirrors, minds made feeble, dreams crumble, the curse tremble, thieves in the temple, raise the mental, beyond the 4 devils, you whack motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Or you goddamn coon niggas out there, you know what I'm saying? They was trying to put that fucking rope around them goddamn throats, you know what I'm saying? Cause you didn't all this goddamn hip-hop, that's why hip-hop dead, motherfuckers.
First Order Radio, back once again with your host, Dr. El-Bey. We're going into Ikram tonight, which is Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order of Melchizedek. So we will be getting busy tonight. So just hold on. We're getting ready to bring on my co-host, Brother Fahim L. You here, brother?
I tell you, Washington East.
Yeah, I tell you, Washington East. Shaq, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. How the God doing?
Excellent. All right, we're going to be getting into Ikram tonight, so we're going to be breaking down what is Ikram. So we're going to be doing a little bit of question and answering. Matter of fact, it's going to be like a little flip this script like we've been doing with Brother Panic. We're going to have the High Priestess, Chieftain, Julz El-Bey to come on, and she's going to be actually with me and asking me questions concerning Ikram. So we're going to get into that right now. Let me bring her on. Peace.
Peace.
Yes, we got you.
Good.
Loud and clear.
How y'all doing?
Right. We good.
Goodness. Yes. Glad to be talking about Ikram, the Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order of Melchizedek. What my first question is on this new moon evening. We are recognizing that new moon in Gemini today. Why was Ikram put together?
Well, actually, being that it's Gemini, Prince Bey was a Gemini who was crown prince of Empire Washington D. Dr. And in 2003, he came to us, and he already initiated several people in the Atlanta area, and he came to North Carolina and initiated us into Ikram, in which that he was a member of the 7 Golden Rays. All right, the 7 Golden Rays. All right, and as being a member of the 7 Rays, as we would say, he got authority to form his own order, in which that he formed the Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order of Melchizedek. Upon doing so, he came to North Carolina and initiated us into that order also. Our cipher, which was about maybe 30 at the time, appointed myself and my wife as being what we call the Grand High Priest and Grand High Priestess of Ikram. Let me go into some of the information concerning Ikram and what Prince Bey actually was putting together here, because it's real powerful. And for those who don't know who Prince Bey is, let me go into some of that history also. All right. So, it was founded in 2002, after he was initiated into the 7 golden rays of Peru, and he took on the title Pra Melchizedek, which was the acronym of Prince Ramesses El-Bey, in which he became Pra, P-R-A-B, Melchizedek, and that was the name charged to form, and that was the name, that he chose, in which that from there he charged to form his own order, calling it the Ikram or Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order Melchizedek. Later on, he changed his name to Prince Hutan Tupac Bey. However, he kept the Pra Melchizedek as part of the Ikram name, and he told all of us to also add Melchizedek onto our names as part of the order. Okay?
Oh, wow. So that's on the end of everyone's name?
Right. Melchizedek is on the end of everyone's name as part of the order. We took it back not just to the biblical standpoint, but back to ancient Kemet, in which that it becomes Malkusutek. Malkusutek is the name Melchizedek. But Malkusutek is a name of Heru. And, of course, Heru symbolizes the awoken soul inside of our pineal gland. So, actually, Heru Malkusutek would symbolize the pineal gland and the crown chakra being fully activated, and the emergence of the lower self into the higher self. So it's the combination of the crowns on which that you will see on some of the pharaoh's heads in ancient Kemet, or pharaoh's heads, in which you see the combination of the red crown, which symbolizes the chakras or the lower self, and the white crown, in which that symbolizes the higher self. The combination of both of them is actually Malkusutek, which is Melchizedek. So hence you gain the totality of what we call Samatawi within the ancient Kemet, right, which is the union of the union of the higher self and lower self. That's basically what we would call it. Within the, I guess you say, the Holy Quran, Circle 7, as well as also within the 101 and 102, they ask the question. The question is asked by Prophet Noble Ali, how many selves are there? And the answer is 2, the lower self and the higher self. And it says, well, what does the lower self do? The lower self does everything in which they're harmed. Well, what does the higher self? What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues. So it's a combination of the masculine and feminine force, which is androgynous within the physical body, in which that is symbolic to Hiru Malkusutek. When you see on the walls of ancient Kemet, the crocodile fat being poured over top of the anointed initiate by Heru and Tahuti or Jehuti, them two together, Heru and Tahuti, actually form the principle of Melchizedek within the Bible. All right. So this is what I want people to understand, is that when you're talking about Melchizedek, you're actually talking about the crown chakra. All right. And anyone who reached that level of consciousness, which is within the immortal body, actually become a high priest or high priestess after the order of Melchizedek. All right. So that's what we attempt to initiate people into their higher self, so they can, stop being so immersed, within their lower self.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let me say this too about Prince Bey, because of course we know he went through Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hebraism, the Moorish Temple. He was a member of the of Temple 21 there in Atlanta, Georgia. He actually was also the secretary of the MSTA. He was also part of the order of the Sufi Brotherhood. Like I said earlier, he was initiated into the 7 golden rays of Peru, and the high members gave him authority. Their names was Lord Messimo and Yogi. What's his name? Christopher Brooks. I'll go by that name. I'll give that name. In which that told him go and form. He didn't have the right to go and form that order. He also studied up on the Round Nephilim, also a Said Society. He was a member of Amark, which is the ancient mystic order of the Rose Cross. Mm. He also was part of the Hare Krishna movement, the Eagle Wings Institute, and founder of the Holy Temple of Menelik. All right, so that's just a few things for which that Prince Bey. He also was the Crown Prince of Empire Washington D. given that title June 7th, 1999, which was his birthday, was June 7th. So he's also a Gemini, and so this is only right to bring everything together in the Gemini sun. And of course, this new moon that we're talking about is going to be,
They're right, Gemini new moon today.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. Right. So some of his other achievements. Right. So some of his other achievements was actually he's a spiritual advisor, intuitive psychic, tarot card reader, rune reader. He was initiated into the Yoruba by actually Tupac's aunt. All right, the sister of Asada Shakur, as well as also Tupac's mother, Prince Bey, refers to as his godmother. Also, shaman. He was a shaman healer. He was initiated to the traditional Ushi Reiki healing system. He's the pranic healing, instructed Qigong. He taught me all of this back in the early 90s, mid-90s. He basically was a magician. He also was a musician. He played the drums.
Wow.
He also sang.
Yeah.
He also sang. When he first got into the, I guess you would say, when he first got into with the Empress, part of the Washington D. he was the bodyguard for the Empress. He also was a student of Moses Powell, Grandmaster Moses Powell.
Wow. So when you talk about Prince Bey, that's a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly.
Pull together to put this together. To put this together. So that leads into the next question, because it's a spiritual order. So what would you say, considering all the things that Prince Bey was into, and the outlines that he set up for us within this order, when naturally a person would ask, well, does the Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order of Melchizedek, is that a religion? What's the religion within that? Is there a religion within it?
Let's look at the word religion and take it back to religo, which is the Latin name for it, which means to be bind back or tied back. What is you being bind or tied back to? It is nothing more than your higher self, your God. So yes, it's a religion. In that sense, you are attempting to bind you back to your higher self, back to your God, your Lord and personal Savior, not to my God, Lord and personal Savior, not to someone else's God, Lord and personal Savior. Nothing to make you look outside yourself, but always look within yourself for your answers in order to move forward in this journey called life. So in that sense, a religion. But Prince Bey was ordained minister of the Afrocentric Temple, as well as also an ordained minister of the ancient Coptic Church. So in that regard, and as we said, he also was the secretary in the MSTA, Moral Science Temple of America, Temple 21. So when we look at that, we understand that just like it is on the MSTA card, that we honor all the prophets, we honor Jesus, Muhammad, Confucius,
Right.
In our Holy Cross, Krishna, so that's the same thing as far as a religion. It's not a religion per se, but it's a faith belief system in that regard. We take the best of all the so-called religions and apply them and see the things in which that works the best for us. In other words, this is now the foundation of a culture that we are developing. Mm-hmm. So it's not more so, it's not so much so a religion, but more so a development of a culture that we are attempting to do. So anyone from any of the various schools of thoughts can come and become initiated into the order of Melchizedek. So that don't matter. It doesn't matter if you Palamayambe, Makan, Ifa, if you're also a sect, if you're Freemason, you know, if you're a Rosicrucian, it doesn't matter. You know, we encompass all of that, you know, because we understand that this is about holistic thinking.
Right. What you just was talking about Prince Bey being initiated. There's folks out there initiated in several different orders, and just as another question along with that, because I deal with that from time to time when you tell folks that you have they ask, well, what's your religion? Because they see you walk a certain way and carry yourself with a certain light. They wonder, okay, well, what are you into that's having you walk like that? And then when you answer, oh, well, I'm into Sufism, and he was into obviously that's Gnostic Christianity. Sufism is basically esoteric Islam, and you're saying that he was in the ancient Egyptian order.
Right, he was the order of the Sufi Brotherhood. He was a member of the order of the Sufi Brotherhood. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, just for the listeners, you when I get asked that question, well, aren't you? That just leads to confusion because you're in all of these different things. There's only one God. Can you address that question?
Of course, it's very easy. Yes, one God in which that has many attributes in which that people misinterpret as far as to be religion, when it's nothing more than attributes of God in which that all leads back to the same path. But it depends on what fits for you, the individual. If you're comfortable worshiping a white man who's supposed to come out the sky or who died for your sins 2,000 years ago, then so be it. For those who are not into that, then of course they look for something else. Everyone does not have to worship a white man coming out the sky waiting to be saved. How idiotic does that sound? But that's exactly what the majority of our people are doing. So
exactly.
Until they can bypass that, please don't ask me no questions about a belief system, because you can't even get past mythology, that they're dealing with. Let alone trying to ask someone a question about, doesn't that lead to confusion? There's only one God, like you said, so how does that lead to confusion?
Right.
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 First, it's confused because they can't see God within themselves because they're so busy putting their energy and efforts outside of themselves, trying to be so right, and in return actually being so wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a little bit of a paradox to say there's one God, so which one do you worship?
Exactly.
So you're contradicting yourself.
Exactly.
There's one God, so,
one God.
You can't
be
doing all these different. Yes, you can't be into all these different things, and yes. So with that being said, what are some of the basic principles of the order?
Well, our motto is basically know thyself and you will know the universe and God. Of course, that is an ancient Egyptian or ancient African proverb, so we go by that. Of course, we know that was on the temple walls and over the temples throughout Egypt. Our symbol is the 8-pointed star, in which that is called the Star of Osar. That is our star, as well as also when you go to the scriptures, you have the Melchizedek priesthood, which is, of course, greater than the priesthood descended from Abraham, descended from Aaron, or the Leviticus priesthood, so it's greater than that. This is why Hebrews, the 15th through the 17th chapter, as well as also Psalms 110, God emphatically swore that the Messiah would be a priest after the order of Melchizedek. Because Messiah, which is the Melchizedekian priest. All of that symbolizes a higher level of consciousness. All right. So we understand that, to its fullest. Our mission, I guess we'll say, a question could be asked, well, why Indigenous? Well, this, of course, Prince Bey, belongs to the Julz nation, like we said. He was the crown prince of the Empire Washington Dictamania under the auspices of His Highness, the Empress Bridiasi Tierra Tunica Washington Gaston El-Bey, who bestowed his title, Crown Prince, like I said, June 7, 1999. So that's the reason why we deal with the indigenous aspect. Some of the things that Prince Bey wanted us to master was science of ancestral acknowledgement, historical research, religious studies, ecology, also with geophysics, astrology or cosmology, archaeology, anthropology, as biochemistry or genetics. All right. Some of the healing sciences that he wanted to go into was, of course, Reiki, pranayama, yoga, which is actually pranic healing, Naga yoga, which is Kundalini, Tantra Kriya yoga, electromagnetic modality, massage, suggestion, dealing also with hypnotism and projection of thoughts. All right, these are things that he worked on. Also, of course, herbalism and herbology. So these are just some of the aspects. Also, he wanted us to develop free healing services twice a week with meditation and prayer, chanting, dickering, doing those sounds of power, hesis or hekaus, or mantras and mudras, science of breath, song, and rhythmic dance with drumming. Some of the other things he wanted us to get into was communication with the higher self, also with the ancestors, but no demonology. In other words, no blood sacrifices, for they are not necessary for the universe. Is abundant with pranic energy, which is actually red light blood. So it is actually the life force, postal or cosmic energy, in which we actually are dealing with. Even though he was initiated into the Yoruba, I remember he asked his godmother, Tupac's aunt, about, why is sacrificing necessary when the universe is abundant with energy? Is it not, necessary or possible to actually bypass a blood sacrifice and tap directly into the universal life force, being that it is one and the same? She stated, yes, of course, but most people have not mastered Ori, which is the science of the mind. So that means that all these particular rituals is just to get you. It's just a tool to get you to the point of being able to tap into the deeper conscious levels of the mind. All right, we always speak about the different levels of consciousness. We talk about the seven consciousness: interpersonal consciousness, intrapersonal consciousness, life consciousness, subconsciousness, superconsciousness, magnetic consciousness, and infinite consciousness. So once you master all these particular tools, you can actually begin to start going into your higher self or going into infinite consciousness and becoming one with your higher self, and therefore these particular things are no longer necessary. All right, so that's what he was actually trying to teach us, is that we can go beyond the blood sacrifices and all these things. It wasn't necessary. He also spoke about mastering of your diet, herbal practices, personal hygiene practices, as well as also spiritual cleansing. Some things that he said that we can start selling or doing is actually selling of fruit, growing and selling of fruit, healing edibles, herbal remedies, incense, soaps, oils, ointments, bath salts, and etc. All right. Also,
that does appear to be, when you look on dralimelbey.com, under Indigenous Cosmic Golden Ray Order Melchizedek, you'll see that there's a lot of references towards healing. That seems to be the main mantra of the order, is helping folks to heal with, the different skills that, folks will come into the order, those that get initiated and those that are, even members, that the goal is to help folks heal, which is, that seems to be, you look at the different holy books from all over the world, and that is one of the main points, is that, if you are a divine person, then your presence alone would heal people.
Exactly.
So,
and that's actually important.
Right. And everything that you just spoke of, that seems to answer the next question about the daily practices that we should be doing every day. If you're involved with Ikram at all, the daily practices to heal oneself, so that when you go out into the world, you're not causing any problems or harm to anyone, including yourself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Would that be correct?
Definitely.
Okay.
That would be definitely one of the things that we master, and we master that through the science of breath. The more we learn how to breathe correctly, properly, then these things will be mastered. We speak about our purpose. They told us to bestow members of high moral standards and raise members to their ultimate spiritual level. That's our purpose. All right. Also, to live in universal order, cosmic alignment, and in tune with nature. All right. Also, to maintain love, to peace, freedom, and justice, righteousness, integrity. All right. Also, to build health and wellness centers, educational institutes, farms, and etc. To see why we have our land dedicated to that, because that's what he told us. Also, to learn natural law. So that deals with the laws of nations, linking ourselves back to the family of nations. Also, common sense law or reasoning, human rights laws, as well as indigenous laws, which is international law. Also, to establish theaters, museums, temples, mosques, churches, shrines, shamanistic principles and practices, or natural progressive forms of worship. To study, like you said, chemistry, alchemy, biology, ecology, all these sciences that bring balance and connection for humanity. All right, so these are all the things in which that we are told to do under the order.
Right, I have some folks coming in to next month's event on June 28th. And one of the questions we had specifically was, what should I study in order to prepare myself for this initiation?
Well, everything is on the website as far as the offices and duties of each one of the we spoke about our mission, our purpose, as well as also our motto, but the offices and duties of each one is there. So they can always go and study what it is. Now the question is, what is Ikram? It's an order of love of self, love of higher self. That's what it is. That we may interact without of divine love. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We have different things. As we're putting everything together, formulating everything, we have the offices of the Supreme Grand High Priest, Priestess, the Grand High Priest, Priestess, which is to lead meetings, address difficulties, enforce laws of the order, to issue ordinance, and help in the evaluation of candidates. Then we also have the order of the office of captain, which is, let me give the Kemetic names too while we at it. You have the Netter, or Netcher, which is the Grand High Priest, Priestess, and Headship, which is the captain, which is to lead, teaching methods, oversee security, and maintain peace Light. We also have the Order of Lieutenant, which is Ine Cat, which is to build and assist the Captain, Grand High Priest, in helping the maintenance of the priesthood. We also have the Office of Secretary, which is the Record Keeper or Treasurer, which is Sesh per Unk, which is the Recorder, which is same as Tahuti, and the Archiver of all meetings, as well as the Banker and Financier of the Order. We also have the Office of the High Priest, which is Habet, which is actually for all, the Wa and the Wabet, which is male female, which is the office, which is actually to uphold all facets of the veil in the covenant. And what is the veil in covenant? Basically, is love thy mother and thy father, love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the veil in covenant. All right, so we have the position, like we said, Prince Bey been initiated since 2002, and we've been initiated since 2004. Okay?
Wow.
Right. So actually, the order been together now for actually 12 years. Actually, 12 years. All right.
Wow.
So, the thing is just reading the information that's on the website. It tells you everything you need to know about the order of the different positions and how you can move within the order yourself.
So then, and to fill the positions of that would be up to the Supreme Grand Priest and Supreme Grand Priestess, correct? Depending on the person's personality, or is that the person would...
Right, where they feel that they would fit at as far as part of their house or order. Like, for example, we have to, I give you a good example. You have the Wab and the Wabet, which we were talking about, which means pure priests or priestess. They are responsible for the purity of the rituals and the cleanliness of the sacred robes, the tools, the paraphernalia, and the priesthood. All right, then you have the Udnet, which is along with the scribes of the House of Life of the Udnet, or Nut, or the astrologers, or the cosmologists. The priests and priestess who calculate the positions of the sun, moon, and stars, and the planets. All right, so for those who are interested in that house, then that's the house that we belong to. You have the Kurhat, who was the priest and priestess who recited the magical spells. They're the ones who did the ritual. You have the Sashprai, who was the scribes of the House of Life, who learned the priesthood, who taught mathematics. They were the mathematics or the mathematicians. They were the doctors, the scientists. And you have the Seshket, who was the artist of the priesthood. You have the Sinu, the priest who's involved with healing. All right, so then you have the Raket. All right, so in other words, these particular positions will actually be put in front of the name, but Malkum Sutek would be, which is Melchizedek, would be put at the end of their name. As part of the order. That way we know what house each one belongs to.
Right.
Like, for example, I have another one, Raket. Raket means wise woman. They were the seers or the prophetess or prophets, of Ikram, the prophetess of Ikram. They're the ones who communicated with the spirit. And then you have the Sour, who are the workers of protective magic. You have the Duwat Netter, which means to be in tune with the forces of nature, the worshiper of God, with the title carried by the priestess of Heru.
Right.
So there's all these titles in which that fits everyone who wants to participate in this particular order. You have the Hine, they are the temple musicians and dancers. You have the Sin,
right.
The mission, who are the funeral. They presided over the funeral rites. So everyone, it's a society, as you see. is actually a nation. This is actually the spiritual side of the Washington, or in particular, United Washington Deduct the Money. So,
right.
Everyone will have to be indigenous in order to understand, this to the highest order, as far as our jobs, our career path, or life mission, as we say.
Now, with the different orders of priests and practitioners of spirituality within ICRAM, and because is there in general, what would these practitioners be empowered to do within their communities?
Well, number one, we would teach them science of business so that they can go out and actually put together the order in which that they fall up under, in their community. They can begin to start teaching classes. We can also show them how to put together an unincorporated church or affiliation of that sort, in which that they can, utilize, so it's the same thing in which that we are learning, as Moors, as far as dealing with the law aspect. These same things will be also taught to of the high priest and priestesses, so that they
Peace.
Peace. I'm still on in the air. Something. He'll be back on a little bit.
All right. Yes, this is very interesting.
Yes, it is. Very enlightening.
Because some of these things, especially Melchizedek being Haru, and with the Prince Bey being involved in so many different religious.
Sciences, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That is a lot. That is
a
lot. You just figure, how much time the average person has in their day and the things they're, able to do to be involved, with just one religion. There's lots of things that you have to do. And to be involved in several, you have to be a very high and mighty person. Very, upstanding, and your character has to be impeccable.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good to know that that's the kind of mindset that started the order. Because, and then to be able to walk amongst all these different folks, not just to be an attendee of their ceremonies, but to actually, be initiated, to become initiated, because, I've talked to folks that have tried their best to get initiated in different things and have tried for years and still just don't, for whatever reason, don't get it. They don't get into one. So here, Prince Bey was in several different orders.
Right.
That is amazing.
Yes, it is. And the reason they don't get it is because they're not on the level that they need to be on, in order for that to sink in to them. A lot of them has, like the religions, different religions, and they're stuck on different religions and belief systems that the European has provided for them, and they taught their children, their children's children, their children's children's children, from generations on down, and it's really embedded in them, and they can't let these go. That's why they cannot get with the different sciences of the Rosicrucianism and Yoruba, excuse me, and all of it, which is more science, but they can't really get into that because they're not ready to let this other stuff go.
Right.
It feels it's against their beliefs. That's what that's about.
That was interesting too to hear that he was into Yoruba, because it's one thing to get into different religions from this side of the water. To get into, that is a real accomplishment to get involved in religions that, started or are still heavily practiced within Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That is not an easy task.
No.
I do know folks that have, are still going through their training to become Yoruba priests and priestesses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's to hear that, again, to hear that, so many different things that I personally know are challenging. You have to pass because it's not on, and then also, it's one thing to be ordained in the flesh or, on paper,
mm-hmm.
To go through, and, do the book study, but to actually be ordained in the spirit,
right?
In the ether, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, it is.
A whole different ballgame. That, you have to have a certain light within your aura and your chakras and your chi
right.
and your heart to vibrate at a level where all of these, different spiritual sciences are made available to you to become a part of.
Right, that's so true. Yes, but it's like I say, it's the different religious beliefs of these religious systems that they have been involved with and
mm-hmm.
bought a lot of this stuff that they, things that's been handed down to them, won't allow them to sink into a lot of the Yoruba science and the Rosicrucian science and Masonry and the Hare Krishna, the Krishna movement. It won't allow them
mm-hmm.
to. They're stuck. They won't come out of their box that they're in. They got to learn how to
right.
come out of the box, and that's the real problem.
That's true. Because that's something else as well, where I do know folks where they
mm-hmm.
try to, they have an international approach to everything that they do. So,
mm-hmm.
Even in their spiritual practices, they can go, hang with the Muslims and then go and deal with the Buddhists and then go, another day and participate in, different African spiritual systems.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, once one so-called spiritual house finds out about this person traveling to these other places of spiritual worship, then, they say, well, you can't come here no more. Because,
right.
you can only, our way is the only way, and if you ain't doing it our way, then you're not
right.
doing it right.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
problem.
Egotism.
Well, see, this is the thing, that in order to be initiated, the requirement into Ikram, actually one must be willing to relinquish the grip of the ego over one's behavior, deeds, and actions, and
mm-hmm.
rightfully desire the emergence into their higher self. So that is
right.
actually one of the keys.
Right.
It is. Mm-hmm. That is the key.
To be able, especially, all religions, as far as all the ones that I've encountered, there's a attribute of the divine that's omnipotent and omnipresent. So
mm-hmm.
to say that, you go to one place, you go to the temple, and then you go to the synagogue, and then you go to the mosque, and then you go to the church, and if you weren't able to see the divine in each of those places in any way, shape, or form, then that, how they say the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. There is divine in all of them. Christianity, but you know a lot about their Christianity that the Christians don't know.
Right.
So you know what the preacher is saying probably better than the preacher does. And you know the esoteric meaning of what they do in those churches a lot more than the church members themselves. And the same as the mosque. The mosque, you know a lot of the esoteric meaning of also the Sufi meanings, actually, of Islam.
Right.
and most Muslims don't know. And
they was laughing at me, as a matter of fact, when I did the video, the metaphysical decoding of the mystic of our Islam. And you know, I was still only in my early 30s, so they was like, "What the hell do you know about the mysticism?" And I was getting laughed at, you know, in a sense, in New York, because they couldn't believe that someone just 30 years old, because this is something in which that a person wouldn't reach, you know, until they were probably in their 50s, you know, when they become a shack, you know, at the age of 50. But because, you know, I was, you know, diligent in my research and study, you know, once people began to start seeing what I was talking about, they was like, yo, he got something there. He knows what he's talking about. But that's because you have to work on this thing daily. You know, like another principle. There's several other principles in which that Prince Bey taught us. He stated that you must possess high moral standards and is able to withstand the temptations of the world. One must also learn to develop detachment from reaction and wrong desire. There's another one in which that he said one must be willing to work daily through proper breathing, meditation, prayer, which is also song or chant or dhikr or mantra or mutra, exercise such as dance, your living, which is your diet, as they would say, to develop more spiritual, mental, conscious gifts, which is called your settings within the Sanskrit, or what is called within 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, the 9 fruits of Christ. But this is what we're supposed to be working on. You know, and when you go and do the research of what the 9 fruits of Christ are, you will find that is speaking in tongues, interpreting in tongues, discernment of spirits, miracles, healing, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You know, all of these keys are part of 1 Corinthians 12th chapter, part of this system in which that we must learn. He also stated that one must learn how to focus on one's earthly mission and spiritual purpose in life and one's intentions in every situation. Now, that's the hardest thing to do, but we have to learn how to start doing that. You know what I'm saying? So the question should be asked, what is your soul's mission? And what do I have to give to the world? That is what we ask each initiate. What is it that you have that you can give to the world?
Right.
Exactly right.
Because there's not a lot of focus on that, you know. Your own personal destiny, your own personal purpose, why you as a person was sent here. Because, yes, you know, there's reincarnation and all of that, and you have karma from different lifetimes, but this specific incarnation, it holds lots of value and is very important. So, you know, divining and finding out what that is and being confident in that and being able to perform it, there are a lot of obstacles in the way. Especially if you're into, you know, the mainstream distractions.
Right.
Well, this is what I remember. I read a good book. It's called The Path of the Master, and it's by Raha. And he stated that the master may speak and act through his body much the same as others do, yet in reality he is supreme one who is acting and speaking. He is no longer a mere man with clouded and limited understanding, but a man who has become God and a God who has become man. So this is what we have to realize. This is the supreme, highest understanding of this order, and what I just stated.
Yeah, the higher understanding of yourself, the more you study yourself, and you gain a higher understanding of yourself. You know, and you know, the more you do that, the more you be ready to the other sciences of the world that you can get into. You know, and a lot, like I say, you know, even in the Prince Hall Masonic Order. Actually, I didn't join the Prince Hall Masonic Order to learn anything. I joined the Prince Hall Masonic Order to teach. because
Right.
I understand a lot of their Masonic rituals a lot more better than most of them in that order.
Right.
You know, so it's like the same as the church, the synagogues, and the mosques, the cathedrals, and the temples. You know, even in some of the more science temples in the different cities, the temples are more science temples incorporated, because you understand they're more science, more better than most of more brothers and sisters in those temples, because a lot of them has been compromised. So therefore, they're not going to teach what we're talking about tonight, or talk about what we're talking about tonight. You know.
Exactly.
And
that's one of the things too. That's one of the things too about the brotherhood is that, you know, they ostracize membership in some sort. You know, between the males and the females. You know, the only time they can interact is during particular function. But in this particular order, we don't do that because we understand the secret gospel of Mary, chapter 1, verse 123, where it says, Mary said, if Christos can appear as male, then surely Christos can appear as female. Those who deny holiness in womanhood do not understand holiness in manhood or womanhood, but are solely bound to ignorance. Do not believe the father of lies, but believe in the mother spirit, whose name is the spirit of truth and comforter. Hence, the mother of virtues, which is, i.e., the higher self. So do not believe in the father of lies, which is the lower self, but believe in the mother spirit, whose name is the spirit of truth and comforter, which is the higher self. Muhammad symbolizes that comforter, as mentioned within the book of John, which is symbolic to the higher self, which is, i.e., really the crown chakra. Not a man from just 1,400 years ago, as they would have us to believe, because the name Muhammad was not even an Arab name. It was an ancient Egyptian or Cushite name, in which that was referred to Happy, who was the river Nile god who brought us Saram, which is the word salam, which means peace. Yes. Right. So, Ahmed ibn Abdullah Allah Mustafa, who we call Prophet Muhammad of old, or 1,400 years ago, if he had relatives in Cushite or Kush, which was Ethiopia, in which that he learned of these stories, and he took on that title, which became the name Muhammad. Remember, his name originally was Ahmed. His name was not Muhammad. So we have to understand that these keys in which that is given to us, you know, by way of the Hadith, by way of the Quran, by way of these other so-called inspired scriptures, how all of this information fits together. And essentially is all talking about you.
Exactly.
Right. So that's something that, you know, you can go to some religious houses every week and not find that out. And you know, for us, it's, you know, that's common knowledge. That's you know, that's almost in every conversation. You know, you're looking for yourself. Are you looking for yourself? Have you found yourself?
Right.
The questions along those lines. So, you know, ages ago, that was considered blasphemy. So we are in a very different time where, you know, that's allowed to be taught. That conversation can be had outside of, you know, just the top clergy. Now, some of the questions that we had were in regards to next month. Next month is, you know, we're having an initiation June 28th and 29th in Kelly, North Carolina, where folks can come and get more information, and they can enjoy different ceremonies and learn about different healing modalities. But what specifically should those that are coming to find out more about this order be prepared for? In what ways can they prepare themselves? And what should they expect?
Well, they will be able to expect the first day, which is the 28th, will be going over the various sciences of the order. We will be going also into the science of healing, the science of breath, so they will be learning that information, the science of colors, the science of thought, the science of pranayama, also dealing with the Kundalini yoga, Nada yoga. They will learn all these particular arts. They will also learn aspects of Qigong and Tai Chi to build energy. They also will, we are actually putting together also, as part of the initiation, what we call a lodge. We could call it Indian lodge. And that's what people want to call it. Some refer to it as a top, as also as a sweat lodge. But that would be also part of the initiation. We will have a sweat lodge, in which that the initiates will also go through as part of the initiation process in order to help rid themselves of toxins and poisons, to purify them, and also build their endurance and build and also help to attune them to their higher self. Because after so many minutes in the sweat lodge, some people tap into their higher selves, and that's what we want to do. So we have a sweat lodge in which that we are also putting together for the initiation process, as well as also people will be initiated into the various healing modalities, such as Reiki, pranic healing, different other arts, as you said earlier, as well as also they will be initiated into the Order Melchizedek, which is a separate initiation itself, and we will be doing that probably on that Sunday. All right, so those 2 days, that is what to expect, is clarity on the initiation, clarity on the order, and the mastery of self.
Right. Now with the sweat lodge, I've done that a couple of times. The sweat lodge is a serious experience.
That's what I heard.
It's a very serious experience. Even for those whose third eye have not been awakened as of yet, you will still have an experience because that's healing it's a very physical, and it penetrates so deep that, as those toxins are being released through your pores, you're sweating from every place on your body. Different healing chemicals and secretions are released as well, and so you may have a vision and you may have an experience, you may feel things. So I want to advise everyone, if you're coming, you want to do the sweat lodge, make sure you drink a good amount of water the day before so that you have something to sweat out. Because usually when I go to a sweat lodge, you have to drink twice as much water as you normally drink. At least twice as much water as you normally drink the day before, because a lot of folks aren't into hydrotherapy, and part of hydrotherapy is making sure that the water in your system, what are we, at least 80% water? Now they're saying a physical body is at least 80% water, and if you don't constantly change, if you don't constantly, add in water daily, it's a lot like a fish tank, and if you can't imagine never changing the fish tank water, imagine doing that to your body and to your system. So when you go to a sweat lodge, it's good to drink, it's good to drink a lot of water the day before so that water changes over. You let the impurities get flushed out of your system through that, eliminative organ is your skin. And, you'll have a clean and healthy water system available that's already, you drank the day before. So is there anything that they should bring with them? I know from my experience, you bring towels.
Yeah,
bring a good amount of towels.
Right. Wear some sweat.
Sometimes they like. Sometimes they say to bring the bathing suits so that because you really get that sweat on.
Exactly. Right.
And then after, I had a questions as far as life after you get initiated. The responsibilities that that folks are expected to perform and fulfill their duties.
Right. Well,
once they develop the ministry,
before everyone leaves, we will see what house in which that they're interested in, and then we declare in which give them some ideas on what they need to do. We have a booklet in which that I wrote back in 2003, which is called ICRAM, Protocols of ICRAM. They will receive that book along also with instructions on how to develop their house. So when they get back to their particular area. So that's what we're going to be working on. And out of the houses, there always must be some counsel or representative for that particular house, because during particular events, we will want the members to be there, in order to move the order forward and see what is the best, things, solutions, remedies in which that we come up with for our people. And we're not just talking about the order people, we're talking about our people in general, because this information is spread out. This is a public connection. This is not just private, in which that, a lot of orders or a lot of groups of society things that we see, they like to keep to themselves and just keep, within, their particular confines, their particular connection or clique. This is not what this is.
No. And as an example of that, the other day,
we learned how to do home drives, shoe drives, food drives, feed the homeless. All these things will be implemented, as part of the order. Taking care of the poor, housing, the homeless. All these things will be getting something part of that. Like you said, homeschooling. We have a curriculum for homeschooling. Actually comes from Brother Kava, which is Booker T. Coleman. He gave it to us last year. So we have the curriculum that we can utilize. Also, information comes from Brother Marcus Klein, who I used to write for the Frontline magazine back in 2002, 2004. He also developed a school program. So all these things will be implemented in order to help us forward.
Now, once those folks go back home, once the initiates, once they go back home, do they have to notify anyone? Do they have to register, to your knowledge, in order to be, allowed to perform their duties?
Oh, well, it's not about being allowed. It's about being able to bring something to the table. So we can start having conferences so that we can see what everybody is doing in their various areas in order to see what things need to be delegated, at that particular time. Like, for example, fundraising, what can be done, as far as bringing donations in, and then thinking of what we can do with the donations. Are we going to feed the homeless with it? Are we going to, build, I guess you would say put together within their territory or various territories. So what I really want to see is us pooling in money, and then within each territory, finding property and put together a temple in that way, or a church in that way, as we would say, and the school and everything happens within that area.
Right.
One of the places that we're talking about taking over, in which that we have connections with, is actually Detroit. We have
Detroit.
we have members who actually part of the order who actually already bought prime property, blocks of property. They're in Detroit. Matter of fact, we have our first church. We have our first church there in Detroit.
Right. That's what religious. Now that goes into another thing, another aspect of this, because once you get ordained within Ikram, that is coming from divine authority. But notice that churches or different religious houses that operate under 501c3, because you mentioned earlier about the unincorporated status. Once you become 501c3, you're not getting ordained. If you operate under that, you're not becoming ordained under divine authority. That's coming from the state, correct?
Right.
Or the federal government. Can you talk about the difference? What that implies?
Right. Well, unincorporated association or organization, nonprofit organization particularly, what that does is that you are responsible for the things in which you take care of, the donations, contributions of which comes in. The IRS cannot just come in and try to open your books and so forth and so on. So that's the thing about unincorporated association. You can also open up a bank account, get an EIN number, for the unincorporated association, get an EIN number, and actually go to the bank and open up a trust or a bank account under that particular ministry. Right? Mm-hmm. So that becomes a good thing to do too. And like you said, that's different than the 501c3, which came about by Lyndon B. Johnson back in the 1960s, 1965, in which that he decided on putting together this 501c3, in which that would stop churches from being political. In an unincorporated association, there is no such restriction as far as being political or so forth and so on. So that means that you can also have a civic side of the organization.
Right. Right. And with that, Ikram is not the only religious or spiritual order that does this, correct?
No,
that would operate under. There's plenty of others, and that use this science. What'd you say?
Right. I say they do what they do, but we'll be the best.
Right. Because my point about commenting on it is that this being under considered as God's people, or being religious to the point where this is your lifestyle, and it's not something that you do one day for a couple hours a week. That this is every day, this is how you live. When you see different religious societies that go by the book, meaning their religious holy text, they are a society of, for, and by themselves, and they interact with the rest of the world, but they're very tightly knit, and they practice their spiritual way of life the way that their ancestors had practiced it. And examples of that would be, the Amish, Hasidic Jews, folks that you don't really see their children. You mentioned, homeschooling. You don't really see their children in public or even private schools. And, as adults, you don't really see too many of them in the so-called secular courtrooms, because their religious leaders usually handle the internal issues that they have, because that's another aspect of being a holy person, that you treat each other with a certain amount of respect. Can you comment on that as far as belonging to a spiritual ancestral practice and sticking to it, the benefits of that?
Right. Well, rituals are utilized because the left brain needs something tangible to utilize in order to tap into the right hemisphere of the brain, which deals with the abstract. So an altar is used as part of the ritual because you have your incense there, you have pictures of your ancestors that passed on, you have your candles, you have your particular books or scriptures in which that you read from at the altar. The altar itself is just like when the Christians say they come up to the altar. When you come up to the altar for prayer. Okay? But standing there is the preacher, at the altar. And he's telling everybody in the congregation to come up to pray. All right? Well, when you have your own personal altar in your house, you are going to prayer, but it's not a man in front of you. It's more so the essence of spirit of those who passed on, in which that you will feel, in which that, which actually when you utilize your altar, you transform them, from dead relatives to living ancestors. And that means now they can work on your behalf. So the things in which that you want to help manifest or bring about, now you have these spirits working on your behalf in order to help open the gateway or the doorway for you. All right. Is this blasphemy? Of course not. Because Jesus believed in spirits. He referred to them as angels. But he also referred to the demonic spirits that was in Legion, which was 666 of them, in which that he took them out of Legion, in which that he cast into the pigs. So when we're talking about spirits, we're talking about angelical forces in which that can help you. These are your ancestors that have passed on, especially those who are righteous, who changed your shitty-ass diapers and loved you on this physical planet.
Right.
As a matter of fact, who gave you money to help you get an education or get food in your belly so that you can survive another day on this earthly plane. They are the ones who helped you while they was here. Why wouldn't they want to help you while they're not physically here, but they are still here in the spirit? And we always hear that, we're going to pour out a little bit of liquor for those who have passed on. Okay, that's an African ritual. That's called libations. So on the day, you would pour libations, for those who have passed on, those who are not here, but they're not physically here, but they are here spiritually. So you always want to keep that, because that is still power in which that guards you and protects you and help watches over you in trying times and tribulations and certain events, negative events and, situations. You need that type of protection from your ancestors, so we teach you how to do that also. So this is just another way of what we're talking about. And all of this, once again, without having to do low magic, which is actually tapping into animal rituals, which is not necessary, but tapping right into the chi or prana or ki energy, the ancestral energy, which is still here, in which that permeates what is called the realm of form, which is the ethereal plane or ethers, as we refer to it as. So we always want to be able to tap into the ethers, which deals with the communication. That's what your pineal gland is for when it's fully activated. It is the bridge or the doorway in which they give you the link from the physical into the spiritual world, and so you can receive your ancestral messages from the spiritual world via your third eye, in which that is your mind's eye. So hence, this information is embedded inside of your brain, in which that then goes into your cellular structure, or 76 trillion cells, and now you become a walking antenna for the ancestors. So that's really what we want to be, because they have a broader scope than we do. Our third eye has a broader scope. It can actually tap into the past, present, and future. You want to be able to be activated and open like that, so that you can gain insights and future references, just in case if things could possibly go awry or go wrong. You have a way in order to handle the situation and actually be a magician and make things go right.
All right. Now, as far as we talked about, the daily practices that you must do, but getting to these levels, of high spiritual and personal mastery, some folks, it's very difficult for them to imagine that. What techniques can they use to, just to imagine that for themselves to be able to get to that level? Because a lot of folks, are the self is, what they can see and touch and taste and hear and feel on the physical level. So moving from that into having visions and being able to sense beings within the room and being able to pick up on other folks' thoughts. For some people, that is, that freaks them out a bit.
Yeah.
And they don't want to believe that it's real. Some folks end up getting prescription drugs for these issues to turn them off because they don't know what to do about that. They don't know what to do about it. And, if they sometimes they go to the religious leaders and it's not a good, it's not a good thing.
No.
All they can say is that they'll pray for them. If they go to the doctor, the psychiatrist, there's a prescription they can offer them. But it's not, what we're talking about in this conversation is, on an indigenous tip, is very natural. You're supposed to. You're supposed to reach these levels.
Right, but let me tell you, there's a difference between a person who does this naturally and have a good diet in which they're able to absorb through their intestines, their stomach, vitamin B complex, in particular vitamin B12. That is a person who are able to do this at a drop of a dime. A person who has a deficiency of vitamin B complex, in particular vitamin B12, they can develop what is called schizophrenia. And this is where the person go awry at, but it's nothing more than a chemical imbalance in the vitamin in which they need is vitamin B12. So that's why we teach the science of a living, which is a diet. As far as being able to, and also we do blood analysis. We also do irisology. So I can look in your eyes and see exactly what's going on with you in your particular organs, and, and tell you what herbs to take in to help rectify that matter, homeopathic product. We also do blood analysis, in which that basically being old and AB or A blood type, you can see what your blood is deficient in under a microscope. And just in one drop of blood, we can tell if there's parasites, worms, fat deposits, cancer, Candida, vitamin B12 deficiency. All these things can be seen under a microscope just in one drop of blood, because that one drop of blood will tell me everything in which is going on in your entire body.
Wow.
So we do that. So this is part of the learning skills in which that you will also learn within part of ICRO. We will teach you these particular sciences also. So this information never stops. You become an herbalist, you learn this herbology, you learn the science of plants, how to identify them in nature. All these things begin to, start becoming more holistic as you begin to start going through the training. Because actually what we're doing is, in order now check this, is actually turning you into a shaman healer.
That's definitely, from my historical studies, that, in the past, when some of our ancestors were enslaved, there was an attempt before full-on enslavement and bringing in the soldiers to, convert the villagers or, the people of the land to a religion that's foreign to them. That was the first, so they sent in the missionaries, because that's the mission, is to convert their entire way of thinking so that the resources can be, confiscated or stolen.
Right.
So that was the first thing that happened. Is they tried to convert them from their way of thinking, from their way of honoring their ancestors, and honoring themselves and communicating with one another. And before, the language, before the drum and all that was taken away, and before, the families were broken up, that was the first attempt to, and they readily admit that. They readily admit that when they're teaching you about how they did it, how they, things came to be the way they are in these times. But that, if that, didn't work, then that's when the soldiers were sent in. And the first people to die, the first people to get murdered were, the high priest and the high priestesses, because that's, those folks represented, and just their being in their flesh, that person, those people were the connection between those who walk the land and those who move about it in spirit. Because that's, I was, telling someone the other day that concept that when someone dies, that, or leaves their flesh, that they just don't exist at all in any way, shape, or form anymore. That's something very foreign to how we used to think. Very
well, that's because obviously they didn't pay attention in class when they went over Newton's laws. Newton Law 101 states specifically that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So where was they at in science class? See, that's what I'm talking about. See, they can go to school in order to get a goddamn grade, an A+ grade for a European system and for a Albion male or female as their teacher. They would strive hard to get an A. But when it comes to common sense for their own self, as being melanated beings, it seems that they can't think a damn lick. And they come up with all these accusations that the European told them the totality of the whole universe is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Now, is your physical body governed by energy? The answer is yes. Quite simple. So whatever they believe is, which that is really silly for a melanated being to believe. But if that's what they believe, then guess what? They're incarnated in order to learn the shit over again in order to find out for themselves. That's one of the individuals who will have to incarnate again because they didn't quite master this third dimension in order to gain liftoff. They want to be able to come back, so they come up with all these ridiculousness, of saying crazy ass answers like that. So we can see them coming back again. That's no problem. Some people will have to come back to do this again. But as far as the question, as far as them coming after the high priest, well, that's why the high priest and high priestess also must be spiritual warriors.
Right.
Not just spiritual warriors, but also warriors themselves. So they must learn martial arts. They must learn different hands-on healing techniques, just in case of, and also, nursing, medical field type of apparatuses for survival. They must learn herbology or herbalism, as we said earlier, to be able to identify the herbs in order to eat, the fruit they eat. Just in case if, in other words, all survival mechanisms. They must learn, like I said earlier, archery. They must learn shooting, as far as gun shooting, weaponry. They must learn martial arts. They must learn all these different aspects of, as being high priest and high priestess. You can't be high if you never learned how to get low. So, we must learn how to master all of these aspects. So the science is that we must be spiritual warriors. So, yes, the spirit, we deal with that aspect, but we also must be warriors and deal with that. That's the whole thing about Malkuth Sutek. Malkuth symbolizes the higher self, and Sutek symbolizes the lower self. Sutek is Set. This is symbolic to the lower self. Malkuth, which is Mayat, the mother of virtue, symbolizes the higher self. So we must be spiritual warriors. And so we must combine both. Remember that red and that white crown. That means that we must master the lower self as well as also the higher self. That way, it's not going to be much of a battle.
Right. That goes into the whole point of that. We're speaking basically about the culture clash. Culture clash, where within Iqram, it is expected that your higher senses will be developed. But in Western society, it's considered, you're crazy, you're psychotic.
Right.
Within Iqram, it's in Indigenous societies and Aboriginal societies all over the world, it's expected for you to maintain that connection you have with your ancestors and to be a living representative of them in the flesh.
Right.
And not only for them, but everything you do will go towards, your legacy that you leave for your children and your children's children.
Right.
So on that point, because that ancestral connection gets a lot of criticism. However, 2 days ago, what was it? Memorial Day for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Memorial Day, when they are celebrating fallen, the dead, dead soldiers on one. Okay, yes, that's very honorable. But at the same time, when we do it, it's incorrect and it's backward and it's wrong. But when they do it, it's everybody gets off that day, and you you have to pay homage to all of these folks that you don't even know.
Right.
But to pay homage to folks actually.
To pay homage to the people who have passed on your behalf now, who in a sense died for you.
Exactly.
And then you give them
if they were paid to die, that's one thing, right?
Right. They were paid to die for you, right? But then you go and grill and you do animal sacrifices on their behalf.
Right. Exactly, right? That's what the feasting is about, right? The cooking out.
Right.
Grilling that day.
Right. Right. So that's the sacrifice that is taking place on behalf of them, but yet you're not putting two and two together. So here we are telling you what this really is, and then you doing the thing without knowing what you're really doing. Which one has more science?
Right. Now, in response to that, too, you're talking about being a spiritual warrior. That day, instead of grilling, the animals, sacrificing the animals,